The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Very exciting. This is our first episode of 2024. Welcome to the new year. In 2024, as we did in 2023, we will be discussing the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes or less. So whether you are a seasoned federal employee or whether you're just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back, and we will tell you what you need to know, but might have missed during your holiday celebrations. We are your hosts, Katelyn Murray, and I am joined by the wonderful, intelligent, funny, sparkling Dan Stein.
Wow. I was waiting to see who our guest was.
Yeah.
So you were talking about me. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, stepping it up in the new year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotta bring the adjectives.
I'm gonna keep a recording of this and play it for my bride.
Awesome. Yes.
And Katelyn, you may note that I'm in a gray t-shirt because I'm not quite ready to jump to the black one. But as of this airing, we will not have resolved avoiding a shutdown. So I'm going gray.
Gotcha.
Because I'm holding out hope that their elected representatives will be able to remember, in the words of the late great Tip O'Neill, the best deal is the one where nobody's completely happy.
Yeah.
So I think if we can do that, we can avoid these nonsensical shutdowns and start doing some of the business. Because, Congress can do this. I think if they stop messing around with the TSP, for example, because I've ranted on this one-on-one with clients and prospects, but and touched on it here. The iFund is getting a new index finally. It was supposed to be the world minus US. Well, now it's the world minus US minus Hong Kong minus China.
Right.
Because of some political posturing. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, make no mistake, that means the score is politics 1, career Fed 0. So tell you what, guys, let's pass a budget.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good New Year's resolution.
I know you can do it. I have complete faith in you. So
definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
So looking forward to great things.
Yeah.
In 2024. So Katelyn, you excited for the new year?
I am. New Year. So I'm a little weird about New Year's. Like, it's kind of like, how people don't like to celebrate their birthdays because it's like a whole passage of time thing. And so I'm not that way with my birthday because getting older doesn't really freak me out. But New Year's kind of does. So I normally am pretty low key about, New Year. We'll test it out. We'll see how 2024 is. Also, since COVID, I feel like time has just like really been weird. Like, it's crazy to me that we're in 2024 because I'm still probably in 2020. It feels like the past like 3 or 4 years have passed like nothing. So yeah.
So
coming
from your neck of the woods, do you start with black eyed peas?
Black eyed peas, turnip greens, and hog jowl. That's what we do.
Very nice.
For New Year's. Yeah, that's the typical New Year's digs around here.
And folks, if you haven't tried them, you are missing out.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I think resolution wise, not a big resolution person, but I do kind of think intentions are important. And I think the intention for 2024, a good one for all of us, is to just kind of be present, slow down a little bit, be present in the moment, soak it all in. So yeah.
Excellent advice. I will try and follow that.
How about you? Are you looking to implement any new changes in 2024? Any resolutions? Any intention setting?
I'm looking to have a year without some big changes,
Yeah.
because Katelyn, about 18 months ago, I went vegan, and then this past year, made the decision to forego fermented spirits. So I'm running out of vices, Katelyn. I'm running out of vices. And,
Yep.
the doggone part of it is, I really feel good. So there's nothing to complain about, because I was really looking forward to complaining. So the closest I can get to that is, and folks, write this down. You can feel happy to prove me wrong. Send me the recipe. There's no way to cook a Brussels sprout that it tastes like a pork rib.
Correct.
Now if you're out there and you have one, send it to me, baby. I will make that. So I'm kind of looking forward to a year of living those changes.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Yeah. I just had my physical. I got my blood work, and it's all great. And it's like, man, I'm going to have to stick with this. I'm not going to have any excuse. So, so kind of looking forward to just a year of, this is how I'm set up, and this is how I'm going to move forward. I'm looking forward to it just being the new normal.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sounds good.
Because you told me I got to last. You charged me with that responsibility.
Yes.
So
you do.
I take that seriously. As one of my work children, I don't want to let you down.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, we have a couple kind of different topics to cover today. I think both very, very interesting, both very important topics. I think also both pretty timely. We're going to talk through we put a really, really great article on the blog recently, kind of talking through what the first year of retirement looks like, and particularly that early period. I think a lot of folks who are considering retiring, cash flow in that early period is of pretty big importance to them, and kind of understanding, when does the annual leave get paid out? When does my pension start? And I heard that my pension is maybe reduced for some period of time, and yada, yada. So we're going to kind of go through that. But first, Dana's going to talk with us about how beneficiaries work with the TSP, and what actually happens if, when a Fed who owns the TSP does pass away. How does that how does that money transfer? So TSP beneficiaries, actually beneficiaries on any account that you own. I'm talking bank accounts, I'm talking investment accounts, I'm talking TSP. Having beneficiaries in place is one of the huge things that you can do to, take care of your family, and also to just make sure that, if you're not somebody who has a family that you're providing for, to make sure that your wishes are carried out, if you're interested in a charitable beneficiary or something like that.
Yep.
So I really encourage people to look at their beneficiaries once a year. Why not in the new year? That's a good kind of time, as we're talking about changes, to kind of check in on that. So Dan, tell us a little bit about how beneficiaries work with the TSP.
Well, first things first, remember this sentence: when in doubt, fill it out. Okay, so if you don't know, if you don't have a copy of what you did for your beneficiaries, take the step and just complete another form. Okay, because one of the things we've encountered, Katelyn, and you've bumped into it too, is that upon occasion, well-meaning personnel people will say, it's best to leave it blank. Then if you get a divorce, you don't have to go back and change something, and that's iffy. You will never hear that cross our lips, because yes, there is something called order of precedence, that if there's no beneficiary, it would flow surviving spouse first, children next, parents next, executor of the estate next of kin. So there's an order of operation to it. Don't do it, folks. Just pick the folks you want it to go to. Okay. And keep that up to date, because the well-being personnel person is correct. If you remarry and you forgot to change your beneficiary to your current spouse from your ex-spouse, guess what? The ex-spouse is the legal beneficiary and is going to receive those proceeds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's a quick way to have a Viking funeral as far as I'm concerned. And for those of you who don't know, a Viking funeral is where they put you out on the boat and then they fire flaming arrows at it.
Yeah.
To
not a good situation.
To get a Valhalla in glory. So take the time to do that. Now, here's some important wrinkles. So a spousal beneficiary has a variety of choices. So God forbid something happens to our Fed. The spouse can take it all as a lump sum. They're going to take a pretty big hit on that and, subject to withholding. But they can also keep the money in TSP as a spousal beneficiary TSP. And that is great as an first step. But there's a wrinkle that most people don't know, and it's a big one. If that spouse passes away with that money still in the TSP, their beneficiary must take a lump sum, period. No conversation. And that is a huge tax hit. So if that's going to your kids, that could be a real nasty surprise. Conversely, if that spouse had moved it to a beneficiary IRA, spousal beneficiary IRA, then their children would be able to inherit that with at least some flexibility.
Right.
For how they take that money. So important. Keep this in mind. Now, one of the things, and I think we need to run this to ground, Katelyn, because we had a very respected estate attorney doing some work with one of the clients in our practice that was saying that he has had problems with TSP honoring a per stirpes designation. So, folks, going to throw some Latin around here for you. A beneficiary can either be per capita or per stirpes. Per capita means per head. So in my family, my parents had 3 kids. That's 3 heads. Sadly, my brother predeceased my sister and I, so now we're down to 2. Per stirpes means per branch. So my parents had 3 kids, so they had 3 heads and 3 branches because we all had our own families and our own kids. So if there was a per stirpes designation, say with my parents, it would still be divided equally across the 3 of us, but my brother's children would receive his share. So this is something I think we'll check with Ed on it and run it to ground. But he was pretty emphatic about the fact that he had some experiences where that didn't turn out that way, that the per stirpes designation was not honored. So moving on from that, non-spousal beneficiaries for the TSP really have 2 choices. They can take a lump sum or they can transfer it into an inherited IRA. That's going to give them, the 10-year rule to take it out. But the big thing you do not want is no beneficiaries. I cannot stress that enough. Take the time to do it. Okay. And that goes across all of your benefits. So anything that you are not 100% certain that you know what it is and you have a copy of it, when in doubt, fill it out. So that's what I got.
Absolutely. Yeah, good advice. I mean, I think this is such an interesting intersection between financial planning and estate planning. So
Sure.
We're not estate planners. I haven't been to law school yet. It's on the list.
But, really?
Nah, I flirt with it back and forth. But the intersection between estate planning and financial planning, this is one of those, right? So making sure that, beneficiaries are updated, that they're that they're working in connection with what you have set up for your estate planning or with the goals that you have kind of in mind. And that I want to stress again, because I think a lot of Feds don't know this, that situation, you may think, if you're the Fed, if I pass away, my spouse inherits, it'll probably be a long time before, we would be passing that money to our kids. But think about this. A lot of the Feds that we see, thousands of them every year, their biggest investment asset in a lot of cases is their TSP, because they've been saving for years and years and years and years and years into that TSP. Having that, the largest portion of your investment portfolio, at risk of, let's say you hold that thing until you're in your 80s or 90s, your spouse,
Sure.
Similar age to you, also in their 80s or 90s, it passes to the spouse. The odds are actually fairly high that if that money doesn't get moved out of the TSP at some point, that money could pass to your children. Think about that. At that stage in your life and at that stage in your children's life, they could be at their highest income earning years.
Sure.
They could be in their 40s, 50s, and their high income means high tax rate, right? So a lump sum cash out of your largest investment asset for them at that point in time could be devastating, especially looking at tax rates going up with the expiration of TCJA at the end of 2025. So I hope that that's good food for thought for you. I know we're spending a little extra time on it, but I think it's worth it because I think a lot of feds don't know that, and that comes as a shock. So definitely something to evaluate there.
So tell us about first year.
Yeah, I wanted to take a moment just kind of quickly to kind of go through what the first couple, weeks to months of retirement looks like for Fed. So of course, at the end of every year, that December 31st date is much coveted. Lots of folks are retiring year end. It's kind of a natural bookmark. And obviously, picking the date on which you will retire is a crucial part of the retirement decision for Feds. You want to consider years of service, you want to consider annual leave, and those sorts of things. And one of the big questions for Feds who are planning to retire is, what is my cash flow going to look like for the first couple months? Because it's a huge transition. You're getting used to, you normally have those direct deposit paychecks, and now those are going to stop. What's coming my way? What am I going to live off of? So roughly 2 weeks after your retirement date, you will receive the lump sum payment for your accumulated leave. Now, this is typically taxed as income. This is wages to you. There's a 20% mandatory federal withholding on this amount, though. So definitely plan for that. Be aware of that. HR should be able to give you an estimate of the lump sum dollar amount that you can expect for your annual leave when you kind of get closer to, obviously, retirement. You can request that from them. Roughly 3 to 4 weeks after OPM receives your retirement claim packet, you should start getting your first estimated annuity payment. And I actually think that is a typo. I think it's 3 to 4 weeks after your retirement date, you get your first estimated annual annuity payment. Now, here's the thing about estimated annuity payments. They are not your permanent, final, forever and always annuity payment. They are about 60 to 70% less than what the actual monthly amount will be when OPM has finalized your claim. So we all know that OPM has a backlog on processing those retirement claims. We talk about it a lot. They're working on it. We are seeing some progress, although maybe not as quickly as we'd like to. We did cover that on last week's episode. But basically, when you decide to retire, you can retire on your own schedule, and they give you this 60 to 70% annuity payment to kind of help you with cash flow while they're finalizing what you are entitled to. Now, state taxes, dental and vision premiums, long-term care insurance premiums, if you've got it, all of those have to be paid out of pocket while you are in this kind of interim status. But once you start getting your regular pension payments, your regular annuity payments, whether you're FERS or whether you're CSRS, those will start being automatically deducted from there. But in this period of time, you do need to pay those out of pocket. A lot of times that annual leave cash out can help pay for that. So for newly retired Feds, obviously adjusting from biweekly paychecks to those monthly annuity paychecks can be rough. It's a little difficult to kind of go onto that schedule if you've been on a biweekly schedule for 30 years. It might be a good time to check in with a financial planner. Should you withdraw from your TSP to supplement cash flow here? Do you have an investment portfolio that maybe you can lean on to supplement cash flow here? Is your annual leave going to be enough? What's your monthly spending looking like? These are all kind of questions that you want to kind of talk out in advance before you set that retirement timetable, ideally. And then the last kind of period that we'll cover, about 3 to 9 weeks after your retirement date, OPM should have finalized your retirement packet. They should have reviewed everything, and you're going to get a personalized statement. It's going to be issued from OPM. That's going to detail your monthly annuity amount from FERS or from CSRS if you're under that system, and any tax withholdings or other deductions. So if you do a survivor benefit on that, that'll be detailed on there. And it will also kind of go through those taxes, dental and vision premiums, long-term care insurance premiums, that sort of thing, FEHB, all that. So that's kind of what you can expect for the first couple weeks of retirement as you kind of get adjusted. You do need to plan accordingly for how you'll manage cash flow. I think that helps what's already a difficult kind of mental transition from going
Sure.
into work every day and having that structure to now not, or having a different structure in place. Worrying about cash is one less stress that's kind of on your plate. So if you are kind of approaching that retirement timeframe and you need to kind of talk through cash flow and how you'll plan for that, feel free to reach out to us at askstws@stwserve.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And great job, Katelyn. And geez, we're up against it. That's all the time we have today. Went over a little bit. This is one of those ish days. But wanted to get the year started off right for you. We will be back next week to bring you the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed. We'll be here.
Absolutely. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast on our YouTube channel, Fed Life, so you never miss an episode. We are also on Spotify. If you're a Spotify person, please do remember to share us with your friends and colleagues as well. It really helps out.
And for more information on the topics covered in today's show and more, check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that subscribe button. But subscribe to the newsletter, Weekly Serving. You'll get the latest news that you need to know delivered straight to your inbox every week. You don't even have to go looking for it.
Absolutely. And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for Feds, of course, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. Now, we do these every single month. We've got webinars on all different kind of aspects of your federal benefits. Two really interesting ones that are coming up. There's tax planning coming up on January 4th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then we also have a TSP planning session coming up on January 17th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I know we kind of talked about TSP beneficiaries today, but there's a lot that goes into planning around the TSP. So definitely, if you haven't joined us for that session before, definitely check us out. Of course, if you prefer a one-on-one approach, we do that as well. Feel free to reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation at askstws@stwserve.com is that email address again.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for listening to us through last year. Stay with us through this year. The best is yet to come. So thanks for listening to Fed15. So I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Take care. Have a happy new year.